Hi everyone, I'm Sharon and welcome to the channel today. Today we're going to look at the 10 signs of poor boundary setting that everyone should know. So the reason for those 10 signs, the first one is the inability to make decisions. Often the person feels very torn. They feel they question themselves and always putting themselves less. They easily relinquish power, and they often ignore those internal cues. You know, when your gut is saying to you something and you really just push through that gut feeling, that is a sign that you're not listening to your internal cues. So that's the inability to make decisions. The next one is people pleaser. We know quite a lot of people who love doing what others enjoy, what others want them to do. But the person involved loves the secondary benefit of always being praised, of, oh, this person is such a nice person, best person ever. And you need to ask yourself, why do I need that level of affirmation? Because it is really a red flag. Then we move to the next one, which is excessive fatigue. Here we find that the person is so involved in taking care of others that they neglect to take care of themselves. And this results in excessive care. Not knowing when to stop and almost ignoring once again and ignoring the internal cues and going overboard. This is once again a red flag to take note of. Then we have endless guilt of small things. And here we find that, for example, the person wants to do so much to get the boss's attention that they just consistently or constantly they feel guilty that they're not doing enough. The next one is that sense of loss of self. This is when the person gets so involved with others and their bad days become your bad days and their losses become your losses. It's almost as if you're living into the lives of other people to the extent that you have lost your own sense of self. So let's explore this a little bit, because I think that this is one that impacts a lot of people. So let's look at some examples. Some people, for example, where a parent is involved, the parent might be doing so much for a child, being so involved in a child's life that they fail to take care of their own needs. And so when the child graduates from high school and moves away to college, the parent feels totally at loss and they don't know how to move forward because they've invested all of themselves in the child. I'm not saying you don't invest in your child, it's just that if you do it at the cost of losing your own sense of self, then that is not good. Then in a relationship where you pour everything into your partner, You sacrifice everything, always at the cost of someone else and at the cost of losing your own identity and your sense of self. At work, this can also be impacted. For example, are you the person who always stays late? You're always working weekends, always working late nights, and you allow yourself to be taken advantage of others. So this is once again a sign of poor boundary setting. Oversharing. Oversharing happens when you share information, but there is no sense or level of trust in that relationship. And as a result, people take advantage of you with the information that you have shared. And so we need to be good gatekeepers of ourselves. We need to understand how much we can share, and especially to share confidential information, for example, in a trusting relationship. The next area of poor boundary setting is resentment toward others. Feeling taken when the person is taken advantage, and they feel it's unfair, and they then in turn feel a sense of resentment towards others. So once again, some red flags there. And I think this one kind of rolls into the next one, which is passive aggressiveness, where that stonewalling comes up, where the person feels that sense of resentment, and now they respond by digging their heels in the ground. For example, where they would say, well, I'm not going to the office party today, or I'm not going to the family gathering or the picnic, or they would miss a very important event simply because they're wanting to make a statement through all of that. And then we have the fear of abandonment and rejection, these are real fears where the person just allows themselves to be taken advantage of. They prepare to do things that they're not necessarily comfortable in doing, but they'll do it because they don't want to be abandoned or rejected. For example, in a relationship, let's say it's a relationship where they are asked to do sexual behaviors that they're not comfortable to do, and they'll do it simply because they fear the loss of that relationship and fear of being abandoned. So when we look at all of these different areas and signs of boundary setting, poor boundary setting, we look at the tables can turn. What happens when a person with poor boundaries impacts your life? Now we know that there's usually a pattern, and if this is someone that you know who is a friend of yours and they have shown poor boundary setting, make a note of the patterns that they have shown so that you can sort of reflect it back to them in a kind and compassionate way and point it out to them. And this is what you've noticed, and that, for them to be aware of and to seek help if they need to do so. So what does it mean to have a good boundaries? How do we develop good boundaries if there is a situation where we have poor boundaries? So number one, it is really being respectful of each other and having a value system that you share with others that of what is important to you. For example, if you're going to a movie or a show and your friends turn up late for that show, let them know that this is something that you value. You put a high value on being on time, and just express it to them so that they know next time that this is important to you. And so by expressing it, you're putting it out there. Secondly, pay attention to when you feel uncomfortable, when you feel unsafe, when you feel something is just not right. Listen to your gut when you feel that something is just not right. The third thing is make a list of key values that's important to you. Number one, say no without feeling guilty. And I think this is where a lot of people struggle with, because they feel the guilt, so much guilt. But you need to learn to say no without guilt. Ensure you are always treated with respect. Make sure your needs are important as others' needs. Be accepting of your mistakes and failures as well. And learn that you have a right not to meet the unrealistic expectations of others. Healthy boundaries. We set healthy boundaries by using I statements. For example, I am at work. You would say something like this: I'm leaving at 5 p.m. today. If there's anybody who needs anything, please let me know beforehand. I am cooking dinner this evening. I'm sorry, I can't go with you. Learn to say no. Now, when you say no for the first time, there's going to be two feelings that you may experience. On the one hand, you might feel terrible and so guilty and so horrible. But you've got to stay with that feeling and your commitment to say no in terms of setting new boundaries. Or you might just feel liberated. This might just be such a liberating feeling for you that you hold on to it and you just realize how much you begin to just appreciate yourself. As for help when you need, sometimes we do need help along life's journey. Remember, we will always be tested, but don't give up. Life's journey is such that things will work out for us, and then there will be a time when it won't. But setting good boundaries is important for your health as well, and just so important for your general relationships all around. So I hope that you have enjoyed our time today, and please don't forget to hit the subscription button, and I look forward to seeing you at the next video. Please send me your comments. Love to hear from you. Thank you. Bye for now.